Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Let's go. Episode 4 of me reading a boy called Arsenal. Today, when telling these stories, Arsenal goes at it goes it with a smile and his face and a shrug of his shoulders. That's life, isn't it? He intones in his still abroad Liverpoolian accent. This was the day when he first became known as Arsenal Whittock. By day 3 at big school, things hadn't got much better. Arsenal was on one of his first history lessons with Miss Lamb. As he recalls, the teacher asked Arsenal to read out in front of the class again. This is something that he never had happened until this day. That is, asking a student with a severe speech defect to read aloud to a group of peers on the third day of being part of the group. Arsenal. Because of me stammer, back then I couldn't get no words out, so the class pretended to fall asleep, and some of them even pretended to snore. I just thought, oh God, this is humiliating, but that's kids for you, isn't it? So when I couldn't actually read out, I gathered the teacher had mentioned it to the staff room. From what Arsenal says, that was it. No further help, nothing but a mention of it to staff room. In the staff room. This isn't necessarily anyone's individual's fault. I'm a year older than Arsenal, so I was at senior school at exactly the same time as he was. In the secondary modern, also since shut down, but I went to it in the northwest of England, not far at all from St. Dominic's. Every school year had a special class. This was for everyone, for whatever reason, who had learning difficulties. These children were almost kept separate from the rest of the normal children. There quite simply was no particular reason for students with learning difficulties. So the history teacher worked with Arsenal, the boy who didn't know his own name, on day 3 of his senior education, had no idea of his stutter. Certainly no one at the time knew of his autism or his crisis. Arsenal had no real understanding why his name still wasn't Flynn. His autism would have prevented him from processing the fact he was being called another name and what it meant to him. In other words, he had no idea that Tony Whittock wasn't his biological father, or even why his dad had a different name to his mum. This high-profile birth at St. Dominic made him the number one suspect for the bullies. Now, this is a word that Arsenal himself didn't use, but there were obviously forms of physical bullying that Arsenal was living through every day of his life. Also, this is what I think his autism would have helped him. Arsenal still today has great difficulties in showing sympathy and certainly empathy. But at the age of 11, this lack of understanding of other people's thoughts and intelligence would have made him from the cruel tricks he injured. The other shields that he had in his harmony, don't know that, was his undeniable infinite love of a game of football, and particularly Arsenal Football Club. He can remember his parents, particularly Mill, because he was never in the house. He was primarily kicking a ball with his classmates or brothers or children from Steers Crofts and the surrounding area. If he had no one else to play with, that didn't upset him, he would kick a ball out on his own and spend hours kicking it against the wall until one of his parents called him or found him and dragged him home for food. He was truly addicted, and this extracted from an email received in November 2018 from his dad saying much. Now the email. You were a Arsenal supported. Sometimes this was annoying. You wrote your heroes' players' names on electricity substation, and it in many other unusual places. Some people objected to your love of Arsenal. You wrote the shirt, sang their tunes. You made one or two enemies along the way. End of email. This addiction to AFC focused Arsenal's mind above anything else that was happening in his life, and because of his racing, it's a French word, okay? As long as AFC won, nothing else mattered. He predicted the results of AFC above anything else, with the rest of the footballing world a distant second. The behavior is a regular and recurring theme when looking at a person on the autism spectrum. Arsenal Football Club became a project to Arsenal Whittock. He had something to keep him busy and give him a purpose and provide happiness in his life. Although, as the years go by, we will see how it provided years of unhappiness for Arsenal and his family. His school years from 11 to 16 were better than his early experience with the education process, but were still demanding on both Arsenal and his family. As suggested by his dad, he was in and out of trouble on many occasions, and his love for Arsenal Football Club didn't forget. We are in Huyton, in the heart of Liverpool and Everton country. Basically, the place in the country like Everton and Liverpool would be forever providing reasons for bullying or clashes with other people, figures at school, and a wider radius. He refused to be called by any other name other than Arsenal Whittaker, and this was the name used on the school register. The senior school years, when he became Arsenal Whittaker. His stutter was also as much fun. His stammer was also as much fun as an adventure playground to his mates in class. Arsenal. Were you ever... Alan. Sorry, not Arsenal, Alan. Were you ever bullied at school because of your stammer or autism? Do you remember senior school fondly, or did you hate it? Arsenal. It's a long one from Arsenal. I do remember playing football at all the time, at lunch and dinner, at break time, in the playground. I remember people used to just hit me for some reason, and then I always remember someone saying along the lines, I didn't know, it doesn't hurt him. And I gather people thought it was fun to hit. Me, because I've got a really strong pain threshold, sir. And then I remember I thought we were playing football. I hurt a lad. I was in goal and I came out to challenge for the ball at his feet and hurt a lad. But I had an older brother and he got upset, so there was going to be this fight after school. So I came out of school and they were all waiting for me. I was horrendous. But they all formed a circle and the blazers were down. But you know what? I don't know how it started. But two of the brothers were there and me, and we were standing in the middle of this room, the blazers. We went over to the older brother and I remember getting him in a headlock and just squeezing him. I felt like everyone was trying to get me off because I was just squeezing him and squeezing him. I was choking and squeezing, and everyone was jumping on me and trying to get me off. I wouldn't let go. I was trying to kill him. Really, but then after that, it just changed. Arsenal clicked his fingers to illustrate this was a changing point at school. Everyone stopped hitting him. I never got hit again. They must have thought, shit, won't let him go. If he gets hold of you, he'll kill you. I guess that. what I was trying to do. I knew I didn't want to let him go. I knew I just wanted to keep on strangling him. And that is the only fight I've ever had in my life. And no one punch was thrown. Woo. Generally, woo it's in the book. It was amazing. No one hit me again. I must have been about 13. Ended a quote from Arsenal. Other tricks that were played on Arsenal revolved around his inability to speak properly due to his stutter. He remembers a gaggle of lads. Gaggle was a group, by the way. Gaggle of lads calling him over in the school library. They were huddling around one book in the centre of a table like rugby players in a scrum. Arsenal, look at this. Do you know what it is? One of them loudly whispered, normal etiquette for schoolboys in the school library. The book that had captured until something rather cursory was one about human body. What else? The book was open in a drawing of a female torso. Sorry, Taurus. I thought it was. It's torso. And they were pointing to the cartoon breasts on the page in front of them. What are those, Arsenal? They all giggled. Do you know what they are? Arsenal today tells how his mind was whippling. WHIRLING, whippling. So like family go whippling. With different words he could use. Do I say breasts or boobies or tits or titties? Either his autism or his stutter stopped him from saying what he wanted to say. So, to make life easier for himself, he just stooped his head and stuttered, "No, I don't know." He doesn't even know what that is. Do you know anything? Arsenal, you didn't even know what tits are. Or tit is. Makes sense, doesn't it? When telling this story, Arsenal laughs and talks about the cruelty of kids and plays it down. Good, naturally, but there is a sadness to his words and around his eyes. He also pauses more frequently between his words, as though re-examining this episode of his life is difficult. These are my thoughts, nothing that he directly says. For him, the letter S prevents most problems as a kid, and he tells of another day once more in the dreaded school library. When he was called over to read words from the dictionary, to me, 40 plus years later, it sounds as though it may be the same category of, it's basically the same bullies. The page was turned to one of the S pages in the dictionary. What does that say, Arsenal? I couldn't read it. After an age of subterranean, something rather, and long drawn out noise. Arsenal managed to say snake. What about this one? Again, Arsenal struggled for what him must have felt like a length of double math lesson, whilst all about him were rolling around with mirth. Eventually, keen to make friends, Arsenal said there were just taking a piss. He walked away, another moment lost in the life of stuttering children with autism trying to find a way in life in the 1970s. With limited resources and no specialized training plus undiagnosed condition, how did the school educate someone with difficulties that Arsenal obviously had? The simple answer was they didn't. What they tried to do was keep him auspicious, OCCUPIED. Hence, Arsenal only ever recalled taking classes during his O-level years for two subjects, woodwork and art. The rest of the time, he helped the caretaker. Arsenal. I think it's actually last couple pages chapter. Arsenal. My only memory of being in class in senior school when I did woodwork. I done it for most of the day, and when I did art, I done it for most of the day. And for the other days, in my memory, I helped the caretaker. I used to go around the whole school every morning, used to pick up all the registers from the classes and take them to the office. Then I'd go to see the caretaker. I would put all the tables and chairs out in the sports hall for lunch, or I'd go and put the goals up and the nests on the goal posts, or the nets on the goal posts, sorry. I'd just do stuff like that. Alan, what about other subjects, maths, English? Arsenal, to my knowledge, I don't have it. I don't have it because last January, brackets 2017, I rang up El Al-Jinni Hospital. I said, listen, you know what I think? I'm really stupid. That you're really stupid, Arsenal. You haven't had an education, and that's what it is. I have no knowledge. I only found out 2 months ago that yogurt and cheese come from cows. I never knew. I was actually in work as a carer in a residential home for autism, Wessex, and we'd been to get the shopping and we were putting it away, and the dairy was going into the fridge, and I was putting mozzarella cheese away at XXXXX. Not sex, it's just a few X's. It said that from a different kind of cow. I was shocked and thought they were having me on. They had to take me into the office and Google it for me because I wouldn't have it. I just never knew. I just didn't have the knowledge. I did an IQ test, and the average is about a 190. Fuck's sake. I did an IQ test, and the average is about 100, and mine was 71. Since his diagnosis, Arsenal had setting himself educational goals, learning about the body being one of them. But reading is a problem for him. Same as me. Reading is a problem. We're on page 22. And since from the last 6 minutes, I'm reading this firsthand. Like I read 18 pages, so the last 5 minutes I've been reading this, and it's the first time reading it myself. Where was I? It's not that he can't read, it's just that he finds a part of the book that interests him and goes over and over the same part of the book until he almost wears the page out. Again, a trait for someone on the spectrum. A trait, for someone on the spectrum. Subjects have to make a connection with him in any form of media to keep his attention and focus. The one book he had read cover to cover is a book written by a non-verbal Japanese child with autism called The Reason I Jumped by... In Japanese one I can't read, okay? I have since read it a lot, and it's a first-hand account of a child of autism trying to explain in a series of Q&As, question answers, why exactly he behaves the way he does. It is a fascinating insight, and clarifies to me some of the less extreme behaviour that Arsenal has been explaining about himself. I immediately understood why Arsenal had no issue reading the book, as he identified with every page of it. His love for Arsenal football team meant that he was recommended to read Paul Morrissey's autobiography, Rock Bottom. I've not read any of those books. By the way, that me saying I've not read any of his books is basically me saying I've not read any of his books. The book here says Rock Bottom, and that's it. In the introduction, Paul Merson talks about how he wanted to break his own fingers to stop himself placing another bet. Arsenal cannot get past this introduction. Wherever he picks the book up, he starts it again. It's reasons with him. He has self-harmed so many times in his life, and tried to keep it hidden hidden for a long time, that Arsenal just rereads the section over and over again. I read it out loud to Arsenal, and often to read the book to him, but it was an offer he never took me up on. I believe it was his pride that stopped him from saying yes, so I never pushed. Arsenal is far from a stupid man, and when I heard how he had turned his life around, I knew that wasn't the behaviour of someone with a low IQ. He may not have been educated and may be a person dealing with autism, but that does not make him stupid. He only took the 2 O levels at the end. Today they would be GCSEs, as he never attended enough classes in other subjects to merit taking the X for his results. Woodwork pass grade A, art pass grade A. And that is the end of chapter 2. Chapter 3 is becoming Arsenal Whittock, but that will be in the next video. And the next video will be fully me reading it firsthand, like the first time I've read the book. But everyone, if you are liking this series like I am, don't forget to subscribe. I would, because I'm actually liking this book. But everyone, for now, don't forget, link in the description if you want to get the book yourself. But as always, goodbye.